FS, our guest on our sharer ng kanyang presentation for this afternoon will be no other than Neil Llorente and si AUM Neil, diba? Si AUM Neil, and then he will be joined by our guest guest client for the afternoon, si Dennis, AUM Dennis din. Ayan, so spotlight din natin. So, meron na silang mga profile na pag-usapan. So, enjoy. Kindly mute your audio if you're not speaking and let's observe paano mag-represent and magiging client si Dennis. All right? So, take it away.
Hi, Dennis. Thank you so much for having me over. Sabi ni Argel, you're originally from Guimaras daw. I'm actually 15 minutes away from your hometown, no? Kasi nandito ako sa Iloilo ngayon. Kabalo ka maghiligay nun? Mag-Ilonggo?
Yes, kabalugid.
Kabalugid. Sige, maghiligay na lang tayo until the end of the session. Tapos context clues na lang sila. Joke lang. No, Argel tells me that nag-transfer ka na raw to Manila. Matagal ka na ba sa Manila?
Yes, I've been staying in Manila na for 20 years. And then I'm currently working then in a law firm na for 10 years. So I'm a CPA lawyer by profession.
Wow.
And then from Guimaras na.
So you've been in Manila for 20 years already, and 10 years you've been with your firm for 10 years. Is that your first work?
Yes. Dito na rin ako nagstay for 10 years na. Since may promotion, no? So I'm currently a junior partner. So yan, in the span of 10.
Oh, so you're planning to stay there for the long term. That's great to hear. No, alam kong sobrang busy ka, and na-appreciate ko talaga you taking time out of your day to meet with me. Actually, I'll have to thank Argel para sa introduction na to, kasi I work almost exclusively on a personal introduction basis. With your permission, I'd like to start by sharing with you ang type of work na ginagawa ko and ang process that I take people through to determine if I could be of value to them. Okay ba yun sa'yo?
Yes, go ahead lang, Ned.
Okay, so I work with a number of clients in the law profession, in the areas of insurance, retirement, and estate planning. No, so insurance planning involves the defensive side of your overall financial plans, making sure na you and your family are always protected, whether in the event of death, disability man, or illness. Retirement planning naman, ito naman yung making sure that you're on track to achieve your retirement goals. And estate planning ensures that you pass along as much of your hard-earned money as possible to your family or to your favorite charities. Does that make sense?
Yes, clear naman so far.
So I've been in the business for almost 9 years already, and I've helped a lot of clients, different clients in many different situations. So I want you to feel comfortable knowing na knowledgeable ako and experienced to handle any questions that you might have. You know, in my experience, marami sa mga clients ko, sobrang busy sila with their careers, sobrang busy with their businesses, and spending time with their families that they just put off yung mga long-term financial goals and they put them on the back burner. I actually read an article a few months back that said that people are so confused sa mga financial plans na hindi na lang sila gumagawa ng decision. So, nagkakaroon ng analysis paralysis in those areas. It said that 43% ng households reported being afraid of making any mistakes regarding financial planning, kaya they don't make any decision at all. So now, I'd like to take you to the process that I take people through to determine whether or not I can be of value to them. So like you, I typically sit down with them, sit down with people like yourself and have a conversation with you about what's important to you personally, professionally, financially. Basically, get a snapshot of kung saan ka ba ngayon with regard to the planning that you've already done and identify ano yung mga dreams and goals mo for the future. Everything na pag-uusapan natin ngayon will remain 100% confidential. No? And then after ng conversation natin, if it's appropriate, I will take that information with me and put together a plan based on what we talked about and what's important to you. And at that point, mag-meet ulit tayo and I'll make some specific recommendations. I will be open, honest, and transparent about any recommendations that I'll be making. And I'll answer any questions that you may have regarding any of the recommendations. And of course, I will respect any decision that you might have about my advice. No, kasi at the end of the day, you will have the final say sa lahat ng to. Actually, sobrang grateful ako na inintroduce tayo ni Argel sa isa't isa. Si Argel, napaka down to earth yan and responsable talaga when it comes to his finances and to his personal life. No, sobrang enjoy ako kausap siya sa mga meetings namin while we mapped out his financial goals. And ngayon, I see how his financial situation has improved since our first meeting. If hindi tayo inintroduce ni Argel, hindi tayo nag-meet ngayon. And just like Argel, if you find this process valuable also, I'm sure gusto mo rin maka-reach out sa mas maraming tao and mas matulungan sila. I believe na gusto mo rin ng same level of experience, same level of expertise para sa friends and loved ones mo, di ba? Kaya hindi na ako magugulat if at the end of our session, you'll recommend me to your friends and loved ones too. And for anybody among your friends and loved ones who decide to work with me, I make that commitment na mag-meet sa kanila once or twice a year to go over their plans and address any ongoing needs. We'll work, of course, with each client based on the timing that works for them. So would you mind now if I ask you some questions and take some notes no, while we talk? Don't worry, hindi to interview. I will be sharing some concepts and I will be asking questions along the way. Is that okay with you?
Yes, okay lang, Neil. Yun, encourage nga ako ni Argel na to take this session with you. So, yun, we can start na to show something for me.
Yes, that's good to hear. So, Dennis, to put our discussion into context, our specific services revolve around savings and investments. So, we help people find ways to beat inflation so their funds don't just sleep in the bank. Lifestyle continuity, we secure breadwinners and their families and their lifestyles so that no matter what happens, their lifestyle will not be affected. Healthcare funding, we help people prepare for unforeseen circumstances health-wise. So yung only focus na lang nila is recovery instead of worrying about hospital bills. Fourth, we also help parents plan for the education of their children. Are you single, Dennis?
Yes.
Do you have
I am single and pero planning to get married next year.
Oh, that's good to hear. So in the future, you may want to explore this fourth financial service that I mentioned. No, and fifth, we also do retirement planning. So we help people plan for their golden years when they don't rely on their active income anymore para ma-enjoy pa rin nila yung lifestyle that they are always accustomed to or the lifestyle that they have always dreamed of. And sixth, estate planning. So we help people pass on their wealth to the next generation in the most tax-efficient and conflict-free manner possible. I will just share my slides para mas may visuals tayo on how financial planning looks like. Just a moment.
Okay, sige na.
Yan. So, Dennis, anong mga general thoughts mo on insurance?
So I actually have a plan, which I got from my tita, pero she's not active anymore in the industry. So I have coverage na actually, but napilitan lang ako, So I have 500,000 na life insurance and then accident na worth 500,000 din. So ayun, I understand naman the importance of having an insurance in place. So just in case something happens to me. So I'd like to lang siguro I'd like to check what else ba yung kailangan ko. Siguro healthcare, something that I can use if something happens to me.
So that's good to hear that you already have an existing plan. Actually, I salute you for starting early. So you mentioned that you got it from your tita, no? So kahit napilitan ka, as you said kanina, so far lahat naman ng mga kakilala ko who got a plan early on, hindi naman nila ni-regret, no, getting a plan from their relative or getting a plan from their family members kahit napilitan sila. Kasi I know that you mentioned that you see the value in it, and I'm glad that you took that leap of faith with your tita and started a plan as early as when you were starting to work, no, starting your career. So you mentioned na your priority among the services that I mentioned kanina is healthcare funding. Given that your priority is healthcare funding, what would you like your health insurance to do for you and your family? Ano yung mga naiisip mong important benefits that health insurance should bring to the table for you?
Yun, no? So, siguro more interested ako sa healthcare kasi I have an uncle din, no, na diagnosed ng cancer. So, nung na total yung hospital bills niya, no? So, it amounts to 5 million plus, no? So, that's why I'm really trying to look for a plan na could cover the same critical illness. Kasi hindi bigay yung 'di ba? 5 million at this time, no? So kailangan talaga I have a plan in place. So I'd like to check lang, no, kung ano yung included doon sa funding, and siguro meron din savings para ayun, meron ako kumbaga kung wala namang nangyayari, 'di ba? My fund is still growing, no. Kasi I have
Mm-mm.
investment, pero syempre ayoko galawin pa. So I'm really looking forward to early retirement din, no. So ayun. So, but yun nga, yung healthcare with savings.
I see. So you mentioned that your uncle before nagkaroon ng critical illness, and tama ba? Did I understand correctly that he shelled out 5 million para sa kanyang treatment? So out of pocket yung 5 million na yon?
Yes, so hindi pa kasama yung mga therapy or yung mga 'di ba? Yung mga sessions after after that diagnosis.
I hope okay. Pero ngayon okay ba siya?
Yun, undergoing pa
Okay.
rin siya ng mga sessions of yung for treatment and sa cancer, ganyan.
Okay, so tuloy-tuloy pa rin pala yung treatment niya. So I hope he'll get better soon. Actually, lagi kong sinasabi sa mga clients ko na yung amount of insurance that they own, hindi naman yan right or wrong until they compare it to what they would want to have happened if, God forbid, something happened to them. 'Di ba? Most of my clients want their insurance to do three primary things, no, especially healthcare. Una, gusto nila mabayaran yung hospital bills nila. Pangalawa, still be able to provide for the education of their children if meron. And of course, providing a certain sense of funding mechanism for a certain amount of time para sa family nila to maintain a certain standard of living. I think an important question to ponder on is anong na-imagine natin would happen if we didn't have ang health coverage that we are looking for. Dennis, can you share with me ano yung mga naiisip mong scenarios that play in your mind as a consequence of the lack of planning?
Yeah, siguro for the lack of funds, no? So siguro, ayun, magwi-withdraw talaga ng mga investments na set aside ko na for retirement, no? If that happens, no, yung critical illness, no? So I don't want that to happen, no? Kasi yun nga, I saved for it, no? Hard-earned money siya. So sakali, no, na magkaroon ng health issues, then I should have yung plan na I can use. And then syempre I don't want to ask for donations, no, or mahingi sa relatives, no. So ayun, no, and also yung mga din yung mga savings and properties na I also acquired, no, from my professional work. I don't want to to let go of it, no, just to have a fund for critical illness. So yun yung siguro major things na pinag-isipan ko kasi I'd like to leave something then for my family. Ayun.
Mm-mm. So I totally agree with you, Dennis. Ako mismo personally, I also don't want those scenarios from happening to me. No, you mentioned na you don't want na you have to withdraw from your investments to pay off hospital bills. You mentioned also na you don't want to be dependent sa family mo or sa relatives. No, you don't want to ask for donations, to do crowdfunding para sa healthcare. And I laud you for that, for having that mindset. No, actually, yung mga scenarios that you mentioned, these are realities for some people, which I will show you later. No, it's a day-to-day occurrence, especially sa Philippines, where a lot of people are still unprepared when it comes to critical illness, when it comes to serious disease. Kanina you mentioned that you have existing life insurance, Dennis. Tama ba that did I take the note of it correctly na you have 500,000 na life insurance and 500,000 na accident coverage from the plan that you got from your tita, tama ba?
Yes, no. So 500 lang siya, no. So yun ano ko yung starter plan actually. That's what I got, no.
Oo.
And with my work naman ngayon, I have an HMO coverage, no. So for
Mm.
junior partner, limit is around 200k lang din actually. So ayun, yun yung mga existing ano ko plans, no. So personal.
So 200,000 in terms of HMO coverage, pero so far no critical illness pa, and that's the reason why you wanted us to focus this afternoon session sa healthcare funding. No?
Yes.
So okay, what you mentioned kanina na mga scenarios no that you want to prevent from happening by signing up with a plan with us in the future, realities to that happen on a day-to-day basis in the Philippines. And the next few slides that I'll be sharing with you are actually health statistics in Asia and in the Philippines that confirm what we've always thought about when it comes to healthcare funding preparation. So the next few slides, health statistics to. In Asia, the chances of a person getting critically ill is 72.18%, and there are 7 out of 10 people who get critically ill before they die. These are grim figures, but this is the reality that we are facing now, especially with the environment, with the lifestyle that is prevalent today. Healthcare is really something that people ought to take a look at more closely. Now, in the Philippines, as confirmed by several studies, the leading causes of death remain the same pa rin, heart attack, stroke, and cancer. And the odds are definitely not in our favor. No, so you will see 9 out of 10 Filipinos are prone to heart disease, and the cause of leading heart disease ngayon, diba, it can go as high as 3 million or even more depending on how complicated the disease is or on the age of the patient as well. Stroke claims 168 lives per day in the Philippines, and if you add all the treatment, the therapy, that is involved after the stroke, after aneurysm, for example, it can be very exorbitant as well. 11 Filipinos are diagnosed with cancer every hour, and the cause of the cancer can go as high as 4 million depending on the stage of the cancer and on the age of the patient as well. But it's very unfortunate, as you said, that very few Filipinos are prepared when it comes to critical illness. No, so ang ultimate question talaga dyan is how long will our current savings last in the face of illness? And I agree with you na as much as possible, we don't want to touch our savings. We don't want to have our savings depleted pag nagkaroon tayo ng critical illness. 'Di ba? Parang it's something that we want to prevent from happening.
Yeah.
It's very unfortunate na very few Filipinos are prepared when it comes to critical illness. And marami sa atin, we rely so much on HMOs. And siguro the question here is, Dennis, do you think that 200,000 HMO coverage that you have, do you think that's enough to cover for critical illness in case, for example, the client gets diagnosed with critical illness last month? No, do you think na enough yung 200,000 na yon to defray all the expenses?
I'm not sure nga kung cover yung ano kung cover ng critical illness, no? Or kung covered yung critical illness with my HMO plan. Kasi parang na-discuss lang, it's for viral or parang mga ganun lang, bacterial diseases. So, yung
Mm.
mga but for critical illness, I'm not sure eh. So, siguro hindi talaga, assume na natin na hindi siya covered, no? So, with my HMO. So, ayun, I need talaga a plan, no? For critical illness.
Agree, no? Kasi most Filipinos, most of us, no, we rely on HMOs. Tapos if anything happens to us, magugulat na lang tayo na the HMO is not enough to cover for everything. And we end up, yung mga scenarios that you mentioned kanina, selling properties at a loss, withdrawing from investments prematurely, no, or being dependent on family members or relatives, or worse, doing crowdfunding, 'di ba? Ang dami na natin nakikita on Facebook, ang dami natin nakikita on on Instagram, doing GoFundMe, crowdsourcing, no, to just to be able to get by medical expenses. Actually, yung rule of thumb for critical illness funding, Dennis, is that it is highly recommended to be at least 5 times your annual income. No, 5 times your annual income because we're not only talking about hospital bills here. We're also gonna talk about the opportunities that will be lost, no, in case a client gets critically ill. Siyempre, the productive time of the client na could have been spent working, napunta doon sa recovery. Napunta doon yung energy niya, yung time niya, yung resources niya for recovering. So, it's the rule of thumb is 5 times, no, to have an adequate buffer in case anything happens. So for me to be able to give you a more informed advice, I will be needing information on your annual income. May I know your annual income, Dennis?
Ano na lang natin, around 2 million annually.
Okay, so 2 million annually. So that means yung ideal critical illness funding for you is around 10 million. And right now, you have no critical illness coverage at all and only a 200,000 HMO benefit coverage. Tama ba?
Yes, tama.
Yung HMO coverage pa yun, as you mentioned, hindi ka sure if it's gonna cover critical illnesses. So if we take a look at it as, let's say, for example, hindi talaga niya kinover yung critical illness, you have a gap of around 10 million. Of course, depending on your budget, that gap need not be addressed naman by just one plan. No? It can be a series of plans that you will be getting through the years. So we'll talk more about your budget later when we discuss yung specifics na ng plan. Rest assured na yung pag-uusapan natin, yung discussion natin, we will always center it on customizing the plan according to your budget and to your preferred coverage. So Dennis, if I can show you a plan that partially addresses yung gap that we've identified and at the same time eases yung worries mo, yung worries that you mentioned kanina, no, the worries that are listed here, like having to withdraw from your investment prematurely or selling properties at a loss because of critical illness. Would you be interested to know more?
Yes, so I need more details din, no? Ano ba yung benefits and how long do I need to pay the plan, no? Ganyan.
Okay, so that's good, Dennis. So sige, let's proceed now to talking about the specifics of the plan. So that ends the presentation and the KYC.
Right. Yun. So everyone, take a deep breath. Inhale and exhale. Yan. So kamusta? Kamusta everyone? Marami ba nakapag-notes ng inyong mga findings or mga gustong i-incorporate in your own presentations? Of course, thank you so much, Neil and Dennis, for that very comprehensive na initial interview questions, pati yung mga statistics, kumpleto, di ba? Tapos parang may binabasang script si Neil. So ibig sabihin niyan, sa paulit-ulit niyang ginagawa yung mga presentation and sa dami, parang na yan, normal na sa kanya. Live and breathe na yung kanyang lines na yan, I'm sure. Tama ba, Neil?
Kinakabahan ako kasi ang dami nating audience ngayon.
Parang hindi naman halatang kabado si Neil, di ba? Ayan, so tignan natin yung mga chat. Yun, kaya daw puro VIP si Neil. Ganun pala. Thanks for sharing. Akala daw ni Jay mag-Ilonggo na tuloy-tuloy. Grabe daw yung I want you to be confident to ask any questions you may have, sabi ni DJ. Yan, super professional way ng presentation. Yun, di ba? So I'm glad na meron tayong recording nito para we can go over and review kung ano ba yung mga pwede natin i-incorporate with our own presentations. So meron ba kayong mga clarifications or questions that you might want to ask Neil? This is your chance. Or dinadigest nyo pa?
Natulala.
Yan, nag-raise ng hand si Zach. Go ahead, Zach.
Hello. Actually, it's not a
Hello,
really a
Zach.
question. Hi, Neil. More of acknowledgement. Nag-notes ako eh. Ang ganda ng presentation mo, grabe. I love you asking, as in first of all asking then, what are your general thoughts on insurance? Diba? So it's such a good way to gauge where the prospect or the client is at in terms of how much do they know about insurance, how much do they appreciate insurance, diba? And I love how you present the problems. This is a struggle I've had in the past and even till now, presenting the problems, right, in a way na hindi ma-offend yung client. So you presented it in such a way that it's facts and figures, statistics, and you present it in such a matter-of-fact way that it makes sense. It becomes logical for the client to go like, oh nga, no, kailangan ko yan. Diba? So I love also how you refer to the insured as client. Like when the client gets sick, when the client becomes critically ill, yung mga ganon. And also yung segue mo from asking their annual income by first sharing, kailangan mo ng 5 times of your annual income for income protection due to critical illness. So with that, and then you ask the annual income. Ang smooth lang niya. So lastly, I loved you having a pre-closing of would you be interested to know more, in terms of the details. So it confirmed what Gian and I and Jericho were talking about earlier, na kailangan organized tayo sa presentations natin. And that's what we have to work on as a team. And you just showed how organized you are and how effective it can be with that. No, so thank you, Neil. Yun lang.
Thank you, Zach.
Alright, thank you so much, Zach. Sige, meron tayong type-in question dito. Yung slides mo ba, Neil, ilalabas mo depende kung ano piliin niyang goal, pati kung single siya or kung married siya. Yun.
Yes.
Yes,
So,
daw,
meron
AJ.
ako template slides, iba-iba. So, if retirement yung gusto ni client, if estate planning gusto niya, no, so parang naka-ready na siya. Anytime the client during the KYC will say na yun yung priority niya. So, nasa cloud na siya. So, i-click ko na lang siya for presentation sharing.
Yun. So, all bases covered.
Bro, ako.
Kumbaga. Yan, go ahead.
Yes, I just wanna commend Bro Neil for that really nice presentation. Lalo na kaming mga hindi masyadong techie. Ang ganda ng ginawa niya, lalo pa yung kahit yung sa KYC natin sa tawag dito sa IPOS, na-incorporate niya na doon kung anong priorities ng kliyente. So it's a lesson sa akin at maybe sa iba na silip-silipin natin yan para hindi na paulit-ulit tayo. Kahit kumuha o hindi, nakapag KYC na talaga siya, nandoon kung anong first priority, funding for health. Ang ganda yung segue niya na hindi lang halata, sinisiko na sa dibdib yung kliyente. Simpleng-simple lang, naglabas na 2 million ang kanyang income annually. Seamless yung approach and it's really nice na you incorporate having that person be your client but at the same time, you make sure na nai-educate din sila. They need that kasi you can only do that if you have full confidence in what you're doing. Kasi kung ikaw nag-aalangan, nauutal-utal kasi sinasabi mo, how can you educate people? How will they listen to you? But you did it pretty well. Congratulations, Bro Neil, for that.
Thank you,
Alright,
Bro
thank you
Rohel.
so
Idol
much.
kasi kita eh. Thank
Yan lang.
you.
Yan, go ahead, Miss Nina.
Okay naman. Oh, now, audience, sino ba kayo nagtataka bakit Starbright, North Star at top of the top si Neil? Kasi ganyan siya. Feel na feel niya yung ginagawa niya. From the beginning to end, suabe talaga. In particular, ang nagustuhan ko talaga, ito kasi yung challenge sa mga agents, humingi ng endorsements. Pero sa umpisa pa lang talaga humingi na siya, diba? Yung confidence niya na, magugustuhan mo to, promise, magugustuhan mo to na hindi pwedeng hindi ka magbigay sa akin later. Nagbe-brainwash na si Neil. Hindi alam ni Dennis sa brainwash na. Budol-budol king ka na talaga, Neil. Congratulations. Galing.
Thank you, Miss Nina. Inspired by you.
Budol.
Galing nun, di ba? Parang I'm not surprised na at the end of this conversation, i-refer or i-endorse or i-introduce mo rin ako to your friends and your family who might benefit. Parang ganun. Di ba? Tinaniman na, nabibigyan mo ko.
Referral seed planting.
Yes, tama. Di ba? Hindi nila alam, gano'n na yung purpose. So very, I'm sure, piling-pili yung mga words na yan na ginagamit niya. Very, yan. May purpose lahat nung sinabi niya throughout the presentation. Who else wants to comment or maybe may question din? Baka may question. Ayan, si Dayan from your associate unit. Go ahead.
Hi, Dayan. Ay, nakamute pa ata. Parang
Ayan.
nakamute.
Hello?
Yan.
Hello.
Hi, Neil. So,
Hi, Daya.
for me, so, first of all, congratulations. Kaya ako sumali sa team mo. so, kasi ganun talaga, yung pagkaka-approach niya, parang I felt like yung start pa lang, it's such a privilege and an honor to be introduced to him. Kasi he mentioned something about, I work closely, or I work most times with introductions. So meaning like there's something about me that made the person who introduce me to Neil. So I felt that way. Tapos in terms also of creating the urgency, parang your presentation was based on, the entire presentation was based on facts. So, at saka on the client, and then na-match mo siya with the client situation. Kaya I know na it's very important, like eye contact, pero like even with the slides showing there, parang hindi nawawala yung, I think the slides itself were like glaring facts for me as a client na, uy, shocks ko lang pa pala. Uy, shocks ko pala yung kailangan ko pang i-build up. And I like also how you laid out the program talaga for them. Maybe that's why we don't call it like a product. Kasi you really said na you can address it in a series of future insurance. Tapos let's work with your budget. So I felt like it was more of you becoming a project manager, yun, as a life insurer. So that's it. So congratulations, Neil.
Dayan.
Yun.
Thanks.
So ano yata yun katas yata ng PFA yung linya na yun Yung I
Yes.
work exclusively by recommendation. Diba?
Trustworthy selling. I really
Yan.
recommend one to attend it. As in, sobrang ganda. Nandun, on a personal introduction basis, yung ganun, it's a line from trustworthy selling. Sabi nila sa trustworthy selling, may elements that you have to include in your script, in your introductory script. So dapat ipapakita natin una benevolence, so we get to empathize with the client. Pangalawa, alam nila dependable, so we already give them parang we manage their expectations kung kailan natin sila i-meet. Pangatlo, herding. So alam mo naman maraming mga tao, it's a behavioral psychology na behavioral economics thing na people think they want to think with the crowd. So groupthink, and we can use that to our advantage. So it's very important during the introductory script na to let the person know na marami kang ibang kausap, hindi lang siya. Kasi pag alam niya na marami kang ibang kausap, ibig sabihin may substantial, may significance yung sinasabi mo. And it's something that is of value to so many people, and it should be of value din to them. No, so ganun yung mga elements. Trustworthiness, yun yung mga elements na dapat included doon sa sa script natin. So I really recommend Trustworthy Selling. No, it's a very good program. Maganda yung mga scripts, no, that I got to learn from that program.
Yon, di ba? May patikim tayo ng portion of the PFA, Limra PFA program. Trustworthy Selling, yan, ganda yan. Kaklase mo yata doon si Dennis, tama ba?
Yes, magkaklase kami.
Yan!
Tapos ngayon, client ko siya.
O, di ba? Yan. So, meron din ditong comment si DJ. Sabi niya, opening, introduction, and framing ni Neil, grabe daw. He really spent time on that part. Controlled niya yung situation before siya nagsimulang magtanong. Yung review the video and notice that. Alright. We still have time kung meron kayong mga questions or commendations kay Neil. Yan, nagpatikim na siya ng konting PFA preview kung ano matututunan sa program na yun. Ganda nun. Anyone else who wants to already na kayo mag-breakout room number 2?
may sasabihin na lang ako, no? So I've always wanted to know and to see how Neil is presenting. Yun. So ngayon ko siya na-witness, kaya sinasabi ko nga historic tong day na to kasi, di ba, nakakasama ko si Neil during ACE. Lagi siya umaattend ng ACE kapag gabi. Alam ko umaattend lang siya nun to support, di ba? And instead na may natutunan siya sa akin, ako pa yung natututo sa kanya. Parang ganon. So, pero yung bits and pieces lang. Ito yung buo. So I really like how seamless it is, and as always yung impression ko sa'yo, you always prepare. I know you have a script, you have written it down, you mastered it paulit-ulit. Naalala ko during the time na lagi tayo may activity na setting appointments, yung ilang beses ko na narinig parang recorded, grabe. So yun talaga yung feeling, whenever I'm listening to you, and that shows excellence.
Thank you, DJ.
Kapag nakita pag nung naririnig ko yung ikaw, na paulit-ulit, laging ganon, I know how much you prepared for it. And I'm sure, yun yung nafe-feel ng client kapag kausap mo sila. Alam nila pinagpreparahan sila. So they are all VIP clients. And that's no question. There's no reason why hindi sila kukuha or hindi magre-refer. I really like din yung talagang pinlant na if you feel, di ba, then go ahead and refer to me. Ganon. So, lahat ng tinuro sa training that you know is applicable to you, panagsama-samang training, hindi lang yung trustworthy selling, from the A's and everything, you apply it. So you're really a model financial advisor, and now you're a great leader. Thank you very much for giving and showing us your expertise today.
Thank you, DJ. Really appreciate the kind words. Thank you.
Yon. Sige, so let's stop the recording na.